is up, YouTube? This is your host, Ranee B, here to spill that homicidal tea. And today's case is a bitter blend of trust, betrayal, and meddling folk. So, as always, please like and subscribe. And hey, let's go ahead and cut to the chase and get into it. The solved homicide case of Sara Raras. Sara Williamson was born and bred in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Sara was close with her family, especially her sister Nancy, and was said to be a chipper, upbeat person who made everybody around her just feel better about themselves. She was also a smart cookie, and when it came time to decide what she wanted to do with her life, she chose to study mathematics. Nerd! Shut up, stupid, because soon after finishing her studies at college, majoring in, you guessed it, mathematics, there was a short-lived marriage that had occurred, but unfortunately that pairing ended up not working out. But Sara persevered, not allowing that to deter her from finding her true love. But who needs love when your personal life is about to take off? See, Sara's world got a huge boost when she landed her dream job in 1987. This is where I called her nerd earlier. Is about to slap me in the face because she landed a job as a statistician at the National Security Agency in Maryland, which is a huge deal here in the States. Like when you think of CIA, FBI, NSA is usually the one that comes to most people's minds as the next agency that basically protects the United States' security and sensitive information. During her time there, Sara began attending night classes at Johns Hopkins University to get her master's degree. That is where she met Lorenzo Raras, who worked in telecommunications. Lorenzo was an extremely intelligent and smoldering featured man with Asian features that were highlighted with hints of Spanish aesthetics as well, which made sense because it turns out he was Filipino. This also impressed Sara because it is widely known that Filipino culture is deeply rooted in respect and honor for one's family. Sara, being close with her family, immediately bonded with Lorenzo over similar values, and also it was nice to have someone who was as smart as she was to hang out with. They went on a date, and they actually dated for 3 years, eventually marrying and having a baby boy 3 years later. In the beginning, things were great, but, it seemed that after the birth of their child, things just seemed to kind of start shifting for the couple. Lorenzo became envious of the attention and the affection that the new baby was getting from Sara, and what didn't help was also the fact that Lorenzo's mother, Amelia, when asked by Sara how she could connect more with her husband in a desperate attempt to save her marriage, she was basically shunned by Amelia, ignored. Amelia said that she did not want to become involved in their marital problems. And even if her involvement could have helped, the estranged couple come back to where they started and fall back in love with each other, Amelia was not interested. She just didn't want to be that mother-in-law. Okay. Well, things finally came to a head in 1998, and they decided to call it quits. Lorenzo moved out of the family home and went to live with his family. Later that year, November 14th, 1998 to be exact, Sara's friend Laura Billiter, I hope I said that right, had joined Sara for a shopping excursion to help take her mind off of the personal struggles she was going through. Well, during this trip, Sara had confided in Laura that she'd started becoming increasingly paranoid that something might happen to her. She'd been arguing with Lorenzo about him taking the baby to the Philippines, and she was worried that he was never going to come back. Sara was so worried about this that she even tried to get a block on his passport so he couldn't flee with the country with their son. She was afraid something bad was going to happen to her, but she couldn't put her finger on exactly what it was that made her so uneasy. But at the end of the shopping trip, as Sara left for her house, Laura said that her last thing that she said to Sara was that she loved her. She was never seen alive again. The next morning, November 15th, 1998, Laura was greeted with a horrifying message on her voicemail. It was from Sara from the previous evening. All Laura could make out was Sara frantically yelling and a lot of rustling in the background. Laura immediately phoned the police, where she joined them at Sara's house soon after. When police made their entry into Sarah's home, they were greeted with a scene from a house of horrors. Sarah's lifeless body was inside, and one of the windows on the porch had been shattered. And in the grass, police found a machete, which they determined had been the murder weapon. The cops tried as hard as they could to not contaminate this crime scene, but it almost proved impossible as blood was everywhere. The assailant had left bloody footprints all over the house. Blood spatter covered the carpet, the walls, and there were even copious amounts of blood on the toys that were surrounding Sarah's body. 2 days later, autopsy results came back and reported that Sarah's cause of death was blood loss due to the extensive and multiple stab wounds to her throat, chest, and abdomen. Lab results from the swabs taken from Sarah's body and the murder weapon also came back, but police did not expect to see that the blood samples taken from the machete held a forensic secret. The blood on the blade and the handle, it was Sarah's blood, but it was mixed with the DNA profile from an unknown, unidentified male. Well, obviously, cops tore ass over to Lorenzo's house to bring him in for questioning and obtain a cheek swab to compare his DNA to the DNA found at the crime scene. Police also learned that Lorenzo was reported as visiting Sarah at her home about 5 months before her death. The meeting resulted in the two getting into a serious argument, resulting in Sarah actually calling the police. The police report stated that Lorenzo actually had to be physically removed from her home. This changed the dynamic between the two parents from this point forward. Sara refused to hand off their son to Lorenzo without it being a public place and with a friend present to ensure her safety. She was afraid of him, and she was afraid of his temper, and she thought that this might help their communication and the child custody exchanges. When police detained Lorenzo, he displayed zero emotion. They told him that they needed to speak with him regarding the death of his son's mother, and nothing. This increased the police officer's suspicions that he was the responsible party in the murder. Now, during his interrogation, Lorenzo explained that he didn't kill Sara. He could prove it. He had spent the entire weekend with his brother, and when asked about this separately, his brother confirmed all the details where Lorenzo was the night that Sara was killed. I mean, everything matched up. When police asked for a DNA sample, they expected a fiery temper of his to erupt. But no, Lorenzo might have just be a calm cat, because he was calm as anything. He gave the police everything they needed to test his DNA against what they found at the crime scene. Police waited on the edge of their seats for the results of that DNA match to go nail this perp. But when the results came in, Lorenzo's sample did not match the DNA on the machete.
What?
They didn't exclude him, though, like they normally would. The police, they just had a feeling. They had a hunch that something was still amiss with this guy. But tunnel vision and confirmation bias, as I've previously said on this channel, they're enemies of any investigation. And detectives, they had to stay objective. So they started looking at other factors that could be present, possibly to just, cause someone to want to kill Sara. One being where she worked. Now, the NSA position that Sara held was looked deeply into, and the fact that she could have come across information that could incriminate someone, or even seeing or hearing something that she shouldn't have, could have cost her her life. But nothing came out of this search, and they were diligent. Well, snow fell on the ground and flowers pushed their way through the icy earth to make their journey into spring. And then summer shone brightly. So June 1st, 1989, the Baltimore County Police called Detective Nate Reddig of the Howard County Police to state that they had received a call from a prisoner who had been arrested for robbery. This prisoner claimed that his new cellie was bragging and boasting about having committed a murder about a year before. And the name that the inmate said? Sara Raras. They sent an informant who was wired to try to talk to this idiot. And obviously this dude's not very bright, so it was easy to get him talking. This 19-year-old named Ardale Tickles, he deserves that last name, he was proudly describing what he did to Sara, even bragging about how she was begging for her life and pleading for mercy. God, what a piece of crap. Ardale said he told her to fuck off as he cut off her head. Now, that wasn't true, so whatever. We don't know about the fuck off part, but he didn't cut off her head. He's an idiot. Even after he went into the details, he went on to say how much of a bitch this woman was, and that it just wasn't emotional anger fueled by rage. It was matter of fact. No emotion at all. Just, this woman was a bitch. She had to go. This was enough for police to confront Ardell about the tape. And Detective Rettig laid out different pictures of Lorenzo, Lorenzo's father, Lorenzo's brother, Lorenzo's uncle. Ardell said he didn't know any of those people. He couldn't identify not one of those people as people he knew. He said he had never seen them before in his life. Okay. The detective then showed him a picture of Sara holding her infant son. That's when Ardell said, I know that kid. That kid is related to the woman that I used to previously work with at a nursing home. Now this puzzled cops. Nursing home? Woman? What? Ardell said, yeah, her name's Amelia Raras. The same Amelia that Sara tried to reach out to help her with her marriage, desperately pleading for Amelia to help her heal her marriage to her son, Lorenzo. What a witch. Ardell said Amelia had paid him $3,000 and showed him where Sara had lived. On the night of the murder, Ardell said that he had seen Sara seated at her table and he was going to enter the back window, but changed his mind and entered through the front. He kicked the window in and made entry to the residence and grabbed Sara as she ran for the phone. But little did he know that Sara was able to actually call Laura's speed dial number, which was 8. And that was the recording that Laura had received. What police had yet to learn is that Amelia had preyed on Ardell's loyalty to the extremist Nations of Islam group that he was a part of. Amelia told Ardell that Sara needed to be taken care of because she had caused the miscarriage of one of her friend's pregnancies.
What?
Well, this was also enough probable cause for investigators to bring Amelia in for questioning. Amelia stated that Sara was rude and disrespectful, that she had practically spit in my face, especially the way Sara acted during her pregnancy. I'm sorry, but Jim Jeffries, one of my favorite comedians, said this at one time, and it's true. I don't care what any of y'all say. The pregnant, not the most fun to hang around with. So give me a break. Of course she wasn't acting great when she was pregnant. Come on. Anyway, this woman, clearly, lady is unhinged. So, after speaking more in depth with Amelia, detectives soon discovered that the baby was the underlying motivation. To keep the baby in the family, Amelia would have done whatever it took to ensure that baby remained with them. When asked about Ardell, Amelia brushed it off, saying that she'd paid him to throw rocks at Sara's house and wanted to scare her. Dude, I'll scare someone for $3,000. Hell, I'll throw rocks at someone for $1,000. Damn.
Shut the fuck up. No one cares.
Detective Rettig, he knew that this was ludicrous, and even went on the record as to say it was, in his career, is one of the silliest things that he ever heard as a defense from someone. And the expectations, I mean, what kind of payout were you going to get for $3,000? But police were not done with Lorenzo yet. Amelia, she had vehemently denied that he was involved and stated that, he had nothing to do with it or whatnot. But police, they just weren't convinced. And so they decided to wiretap the phone calls that he had with her through the jailhouse. But that's dumb because no matter what, your phone calls are always recorded at a jail. I mean, I can't believe people don't know this anyway. But anyway, long story longer, nothing's private in jail or a police station, ever. No matter how alone you think you are, you're being recorded. So, yeah. Anyway, they continued listening to the calls, and there was just no evidence to support that he had anything to do with it. It actually seemed like he didn't do anything. I don't know. But anyway, I mean, that's just my opinion about the whole I don't know, because, true crime fam. Anyway, okay. But legally, he had nothing to do with it. That's what I'm going to say on camera.
Okay.
We're on the same page. Ardell Tickles, I love that name, did one thing right and decided not to drag the family through a lengthy and painful trial by entering a guilty plea on July 12, 2000. He was found guilty of first-degree murder and is serving a life sentence with a chance of parole at a later time. We all know how I feel.
Electric chair.
January 2001, Amelia was put on trial after entering a not guilty plea. Did you expect anything less? Wait, 2001, Amelia was put on trial after entering a not guilty plea. Did you expect anything less? Wait, 2001, Amelia was put on trial after entering a not guilty plea. Did you expect anything less? Wait, 2001, Amelia was put on trial after entering a not guilty plea. Did you expect anything less? Wait, 2001, Amelia was put on trial after entering a not guilty plea. Did you expect anything less? Wait, 2001, Amelia was put on trial after entering a not guilty plea. Did you expect anything less? Wait, expect anything more, as you can always expect less with this bitch. Anyway, what is great is that none of her relatives came to support or show any sort of camaraderie with her. Nobody. She was by herself. Good. Ugh. The jury deliberated for 18 hours, which is almost always means, boom, guilty of first-degree murder. She received a life sentence without the possibility of parole because it's just a waste. Just kill her. I mean, she never even expressed any emotion whatsoever in regard to this case. She's a shell of a person, a shell that deserves to be crushed and recycled. There are so many good organs that she has that are in place of this piece of shit. She could save people's lives with her heart and with her kidneys, with lungs, numerous other organ transplants. She's useless just laying around and on her disgusting, hopefully bedbug-filled prison cot. But now she's finding God, and she's pretending like she's a changed woman. Ugh. She's even gone public about how she deserves to be released since she's found religion, and she's not mad anymore. And, bye, bitch. And that's it. A chipper, lighthearted ending to a fucked up case. I'd never heard of this one before, and I saw it on a show, and I think it was on Investigation Discovery, Heart of Darkness, I believe. I thought this would be a good one to cover here. So just let me know if you ever heard of this one, and if so, what did you think? Do you think Lorenzo had anything to do with it? I still don't know. The jury's out for me on that one because I don't know. I just think I think it's a little too
Don't be rude. Attacking us.
Coincidental that everything lined up to be perfectly where he wasn't even by where she was murdered, and I don't know. It just so anyway. Well, long story longer. Nope. We're going to end the video right here. And we will see you guys soon in the next video. And as I always say, don't murder people. There's lots of other ways you can laugh at people instead. Especially in traffic. I love doing that because I drive like a jerk, of course. And whenever I cut someone off and they start flipping me off and everything, I love it whenever I pull next to them just like, eek! Or I'll just like, or something. Oh, dude, I love doing that. And that's one of my favorite ones. Oh, they get so mad. And the madder they get, the more I think it's funny. So I'm an instigator, I guess. But anyway, again, this ain't about me. Shut up. See you in the next video. Bye.
Hey, cheer up.
What the hell is even that?